Revealed, the divine warning of Archons and the 7 miraculous keys to your supernatural escape. In the quiet village of Highbury, a hush enveloped the air, as if creation itself paused for a breath. Thomas, ever the devoted carpenter, set aside his tools one evening to seek solace in the chapel's shadowed embrace. As he knelt, each word of prayer poured forth like shimmering light, enveloping his spirit in warmth. Suddenly, the air crackled with divine energy. A figure appeared, an angel of radiant brilliance, wings unfurled like stars against the darkening sky. The chapel blazed with heavenly light, casting shadows that danced in awe of the extraordinary moment. The angel's voice resonated, "Thomas, I am sent to warn you. The Archons, unseen forces of despair, loom ever closer, ready to ensnare the hearts of the faithful." With each word, Thomas felt a weight pressing upon him. "You are given 7 miraculous keys," the angel continued, "to guide those brave enough to stand against the darkness." Each key shimmered like droplets of hope, promising escape from the Archon's grip. Thomas trembled, overwhelmed by the calling bestowed upon him. Could he truly wield such power? As he hurried home to share this revelation, his heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. Elizabeth, his spirited wife, listened intently but with a tinge of skepticism. Their children clutched her skirts, wide-eyed and curious. "We must act. Our fellow villagers need to hear this," he urged. But doubt lingered like a mist. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors. Was it simply a fable? Their lives interwoven with the mundane, they struggled to grasp the supernatural warning. Helen, the village baker, her face lined with worry and pain, embodied their doubts. Her battle against a cruel illness wore heavily on both her and her loved ones. "Prayer can only do so much," she confessed. As her heart fraught with fear, conversations among the villagers turned agitated. What could prayer do in the face of such suffering? Thomas felt the weight of it all. Faith pitted against creeping despair. The skies grew darker one gray afternoon as thunder grumbled ominously above Highbury. A horrifying flood surged suddenly, carrying debris as chaos erupted among the villagers. People rushed to rescue their loved ones and property, cries of panic piercing the air. In that fraught moment, an ember of hope ignited in Thomas's heart. "Gather at the chapel," he called, his voice cutting through the turmoil. "It's time for fervent prayer." As they flooded into the chapel, uncertainty clouded their eyes. Thomas stood firm, hands clasped, urging the gathering to pray unitedly. "Lift your voices," he cried. "The keys can guide us through this storm." Hope blossomed as they prayed, a reverberating symphony rising to meet the heavens. Suddenly, an inexplicable calm enveloped them, and a blinding light illuminated the chapel, washing over them in waves of heavenly comfort. But just as hope flickered, shadows crept in, whispering doubts deep into their hearts. Thomas felt the Archon's presence lurking, and in that instant, he grappled with a truth. Were the darkest doubts born from within? Gripping the miraculous keys, he stood at a precipice. Would disbelief seal their fate, or could they embrace faith's power? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The village stood on the brink of despair, and Thomas, brimming with divine urgency, pondered the gathering's fate. Would they discover the miraculous keys together? Or would the Archons prevail, driving them into the depths of hopelessness? Thomas's heart raced. He felt the weight of this decision, as if the heavens held their breath, preparing the path for the miraculous revelations that lay just ahead. As the congregation stood in the wake of that divine illumination, a warm sensation filled the chapel, binding their spirits in unison. Hearts that once hesitated began to resonate with the melody of faith. Thomas, sensing the change within them, raised his arms high and proclaimed, "Look! The light is here, illuminating our path. We are not alone in this fight. He watched as hesitant faces transformed, eyes glistening with fervor. Hope sparked in the hearts of villagers who had felt utterly lost. Yet deep within his soul, he wrestled with a growing unease. Would this surge of faith be enough to confront the Archons? Perhaps the 7 keys held a secret yet undiscovered. The air shifted, becoming thicker with purpose. As Thomas led them in prayer, each voice echoed louder, shaking the very foundations of the chapel. Let the light break through our doubts. They cried, voices intermingling, an anthem of defiance against darkness. Elizabeth, now standing beside Thomas, lifted her voice, "We believe, Lord. We believe in your promises." Yet as their prayers intensified, murmurs of doubt still clung stubbornly to the edges of their hearts. Helen, standing at the back, wiped her tears as she looked at her hands, trembling not from fear but from the weight of her illness. "How can we fight what we cannot see?" she whispered, almost as if challenging the very air around her. Thomas, hearing her unspoken fears, felt a gentle nudge of realization. The Archons thrived on doubt and fear. "They are like shadows," he began, "they exist only where there is no light. If we stand together, united in faith, we can dispel them." His words ignited a fire within the congregation. "Together." They echoed back, fingers clasped, hearts beat in sync. And as they did, the blinding light strengthened, illuminating every shadow, every fear. In that moment, Thomas understood that the keys weren't merely artifacts to be wielded, they were the very essence of their shared faith, promises held dearly within their hearts. The tumult outside, the howling winds and pouring rain, became distant, almost muted, as every prayer formed a barrier against despair. "We must seek the keys," Thomas shouted. "Let us find within us the courage, compassion, understanding, and grace. The first of the keys is love." As if pulled by unseen cords, Thomas and Elizabeth stepped forward, drawing nearer together with their children. A palpable energy surged around them. The very air hummed with the promise of divine connection. Love for each other. Thomas urged, love for our neighbors, and even love for the souls lost in darkness. For each decree, it seemed a key formed, unlocking pathways of light around them. The villagers clasped hands tighter, forming a circle filled with warmth. They prayed fervently for Helen's healing, for unity, and for strength against the looming adversities. A light flickered in the chapel's stained glass, casting a luminous spectrum that refracted across their uplifted faces. Then, a hush fell over the gathering. It was as though angels were listening, breathing with them in this sacred moment. An unfamiliar presence crept in, whispering winds dancing through the chapel, and there, engraved starkly in their spirits, was the second key: faith. "Faith shines brighter than any doubt," a soft voice echoed, not just from Thomas, but seemingly from the heart of every individual present. It was as if they had become one, their unique spirits ignited into a single flame of devotion. But as the moment unfolded, beneath the surface, the Archons continued to circle, waiting for a moment of weakness. What other secrets lay hidden within the remaining 5 keys? Would they uncover more together, or would the shadows find a way to take root in their hearts? The light in the chapel shimmered brighter, a golden beacon against the encroaching darkness that sought to snuff out their resolve. Faces turned upwards, eyes reflecting hope and purpose as if they could draw strength directly from the heavenly glow above. Thomas opened his mouth to speak, but before the words could form, a soft but powerful presence swept across the room. It felt almost like the gentle embrace of a mother, wrapping around the congregation, instilling an unyielding calmness amid the spiritual tempest surrounding them. "Breathe," he whispered, letting the stillness settle into the hearts of all present. They inhaled deeply, drawing in the light and faith swirling around them, exhaling their fears into the ether. Each breath felt sacred, a release of doubt and a declaration of their unity. At the back of the chapel, Helen felt that calm, too. A warrior's heart began to replace her fearful one. She thought of her illness, her struggles, and though they still loomed heavily, they no longer felt insurmountable. If these keys can awaken such light, she mused quietly, perhaps healing is within reach. Elizabeth, catching her eye, smiled, knowing Helen's journey had not gone unnoticed. Their hearts stirred with empathy, and in that glance, the spark of love ignited once more. They were not merely strangers brought together by circumstance, but a family forged in the fires of adversity, and their spirits intertwined. "Now we seek the next key," Thomas declared, his voice rising above the whispers that swirled like leaves in the wind. "What is it that we need, dear friends?" Voices raced around the circle. "Hope. Courage. Forgiveness." Each suggestion weaving a richer tapestry of their combined faith. Thomas raised a finger, halting the flood of words. "Yes. Yes. But what if we return to the essence of our purpose?" He paused, a grin forming as realization blossomed in his heart. What if the next key is joy? When he spoke that word, a ripple coursed through the chapel. Joy. It felt like music light and buoyant. It danced along their souls, lifting up burdens that felt too heavy to carry. With a collective inhale, they echoed, "Joy." As their voices rose, the air shimmered anew, and laughter bubbled forth, breaking through the confines of despair. Thomas saw joy in their faces, children giggling, grown men chuckling, and even the gentle tears of women turned to smiles. In that moment of jubilation, the commotion outside grew faint. The roar of the storm waned as if nature bowed to the power of their connected spirit. "We are strong," he called out, sensing a newfound audacity amidst them. "Let us remember that even in trials, we can find joy. It helps us step into the light. It is a key that opens more doors than we know." Helen stepped forward, her hands trembling not from pain, but excitement. "I have seen joy shatter chains that bind us," she replied, her voice steady. "Even in dark moments, joy shines through and tells us, you are capable of rising." The congregation absorbed her words like water on parched soil. The light continued to brighten, the stained glass cast brilliant rainbows across the walls, dancing like angels rejoicing in their victory. But just as the hope surged like a tidal wave, a palpable sensation of dread descended. A familiar chill prickled at the back of Thomas's neck, and he caught sight of dark shapes outside, shifting ominously in the rain. Suddenly the ground trembled, a reminder of the Archons lurking, waiting for a slip, a falter, a moment to penetrate their unity with doubt. "Hold on to that joy, my friends!" Thomas shouted, his heart racing. "It will be our shield. They cannot take what we nurture together." But would joy truly be enough to face the looming specter of despair? Would they withstand the dark tempest threatening to engulf them? Just then, a silent whisper echoed in the core of his being. What other truths awaited their discovery? What was the next key that could secure their spirits against the Archons? The tremor in the ground intensified, shaking the very foundation of the chapel. Thomas felt the unease ripple through the congregation, faces shifting from joy to concern. Yet, amid the palpable fear, something remarkable also stirred a deeper resolve, a collective understanding that joy, though powerful, was only one part of a larger tapestry, and they weren't done yet. "Let us not forget," he urged, his voice steady, "joy is not merely an absence of sorrow, but a force that coexists with it. It gives us strength, even when shadows loom." He looked into eager eyes, hearts racing, and realized they were ready to tackle the encroaching darkness. Helen stepped closer to him, emboldened by her earlier revelation. "We've already found one key. There are more. We must seek them, for together, we wield power beyond our understanding." "Exactly." Elizabeth chimed in, her voice rising above the rising tumult outside. "Let us draw upon our collective faith. If joy is a key, then perhaps the next must be love. Love that cuts through despair, love that heals the deepest wounds." The congregation nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. "Love." They echoed, seated firmly in a newfound purpose. It spread through the room like a soft breeze, warming hearts, lifting spirits. Thomas felt the air crackle with an unshakable energy, one that held the promise of hope. As if to affirm their decision, the air inside the chapel thickened with a golden hue, shimmering like sunlight. Just then, one of the children, a small boy with big, round eyes, stood up and shouted, "If we love, then we shouldn't be afraid. Right?" His simple, honest question hung in the air, disarming the thick tension that lingered. "Yes," Thomas shouted, almost surprised by the enthusiasm ignited by the young boy's innocence. "We need to embrace love fully. Love for one another, and a love that transcends our struggles. This is the balm for the wounds that the Archons inflict." As their voices rose once more, an electrifying energy surged through the room. The congregation linked arms, creating a chain of unity, channeling their faith into a single, powerful current. They began to sing a harmony of hope that broke through the barriers, casting out shadows from the corners of the chapel. The darkness that had once seemed so ominous began to dissolve in the warmth of their collective spirit. Amid the song, Thomas felt a warmth reminiscent of a sunbeam touch his back. Turning slightly, he caught a glimpse of the shimmering light that had swallowed them whole. "This unity is our strength. With joy and love, we can face anything," he declared, feeling the presence of the divine uplifting their spirits. But just as the brightness above seemed to grow, a loud crash echoed from the front of the chapel. The heavy doors rattled violently as the wind howled. Panic began to throw through the community, the sacred space trembled under the threat of what lay just outside. "Do not falter," Thomas shouted, raising his voice above the growing din. "Remember our keys. What other key do we need to make us even stronger? What can protect our spirits against their onslaught?" His heart raced as he scanned the faces of those gathered, feeling their shared urgency. He sensed a deeper truth waiting to be unearthed, something that could fortify their spirits further against the darkness all around them. What was the next key? Could it be faith, perseverance, or something altogether unexpected? As the winds shattered the fleeting silence outside, the answer loomed just beyond their grasp. The wind screamed outside, rattling the doors and shaking the very stones of the chapel. Yet amid the chaos, Thomas remained anchored, his heart pounding in rhythm with the urgent cries of the congregation. "Stay with me," he urged, voice steady despite the fury around them. "What we seek does not hide in fear, but in our shared strength. What can protect us? Think, my friends. What is the essence that raises us above darkness?" Silence fell, yet the air hummed with possibilities. The group glanced at each other, hearts pounding, minds racing. In that stillness, traces of hope flickered among them. "I believe," a voice broke through the quiet. It was Helen. "I believe the next key is faith. Strong faith, unwavering faith. The kind that shines like a beacon, illuminating our path through despair." "Yes." Elizabeth joined in, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "Without faith, love and joy risk becoming mere echoes. Faith is the foundation that supports everything else. It is the unwavering trust that God is in control, even when chaos reigns around us." The congregation collectively breathed in her words. Thomas could feel the spirit swelling, filling the room with warmth once more. "Faith!" they shouted, lighting the room with their resolve. It danced in the air, wrapping around them like a protective cloak. As they stood together, arm in arm, the winds outside seemed to lose their power. Something stirred in the depths of their spirits, a boldness rising to face the tumultuous unknown. "What do you see?" he began to ask, searching their faces for deeper revelations. "What does faith look like when it takes form among us?" In that moment, the small boy with round eyes raised his hand again, his voice ringing clear. "It's like the sun shining through the clouds. Even if it's stormy, we know it's still up there." "Yes," Helen exclaimed. "When we have true faith, it doesn't matter how dark the night seems. Those clouds can't hold back the sun forever." The congregation erupted into fervent agreement. Thomas looked at them, feeling the current of energy they ignited. The light within them grew, glowing like embers in the night. "Indeed," he declared, heart swelling with pride. With joy, love, and faith, we cultivate the essence necessary to stand firm. These are our keys. Let us not stop here. Suddenly, a new vibration danced in the room. It was as if the very walls of the chapel held their breath, awaiting the next truth. Thomas's heart raced with a question lingering just beyond the horizon of awareness. What could the fourth key be? Before he could ponder it further, another crash echoed from outside, the doors rattling like the tremors of their faith journey. But instead of fear piercing through the room, they gathered once more, fortifying their spirits. We must be brave. Thomas rallied, sensing the urgency in the air. What unknowns can we unlock if we continue to seek together? What if there are more keys, hidden gems just waiting for us? He felt the energy shift, ready for them to explore deeper. There was more to unearth, they could feel it pulsing, alive, beckoning them to discover the mysteries of the divine. With hearts wide open, they prepared for the next revelation, ready to confront whatever lay beyond the threshold. Would the next key surprise them? Would it unveil a truth that could change everything? The winds howled again, and they were ready. A hush fell over the chapel, thick with anticipation. Each heart beat in unison, a collective pulse of hope and determination. The winds continued their wild symphony outside, yet within the walls, the atmosphere shimmered with possibility. What if the next key is courage? Thomas suggested, his voice rising above the storm. What if we need the bravery to step into the unknown? He looked around, searching for reflections of that bravery on their faces. He saw it faint flickers at first, growing brighter as they absorbed his words. Helen was first to respond, her eyes shimmering with tears of resolve. Yes. Courage is necessary. We must not allow fear to bottle our spirits. Others murmured their agreement, and the sound grew into a swell of voices. Courage. Elizabeth echoed. It's the strength to act even when we're afraid. Just as David faced Goliath, we must face our giants, no matter how daunting they appear. A few young ones, emboldened by Elizabeth's words, began to stand a little taller, as if feeling the weight of their potential. What does courage look like? Thomas prompted, his heart racing with excitement. One by one, they offered images that painted courage in vivid colors. It's the warmth in our hearts when we step forward in faith, even when we can't see what's ahead. A young woman named Clara said, her voice trembling but firm. It's the willingness to speak truth in love, to share our faith, even if we're scared of rejection. Chimed in Peter, gripping his own hands for emphasis, the fervor surged. Courage is sticking together, standing unwavering even when the storms outside seek to divide us. Helen declared, lifting her chin defiantly. Thomas felt the earth shift beneath their feet. The winds begged for recognition, but here, within the chapel, their conviction pulsed louder. They were the light that pushed back the shadows. Let us embrace courage. Thomas shouted, his voice a clarion call. We cannot wait for it to find us. We must take that first step. Together, we break the chains of fear. In that moment, they were caught up in a wave, a shared energy coursing through them like a river of hope. Thomas felt uplifted, inspired. They were primed for revelation, eager for that fourth key. Suddenly, an urgent knock at the chapel door made them all jump. Startled, yet undeterred, Thomas turned to face it. Who could it be? Someone whispered, eyes wide with curiosity. He raised a hand to silence the room, straining to listen. The wind howled an ominous tune around them, but beneath it, something distinct resonated, a voice, clear yet distant, calling through the chaos. Will you heed the warnings that live in your hearts? The voice sang, ethereal and commanding. What does that mean? Thomas breathed, feeling the solemn weight of the moment. Do we dare to listen? Helen asked, moving closer. He nodded slowly. We must be open to its meaning. This may be a vital moment for us. The voices of the congregation grew quiet, as they tuned their hearts to the message. The door quivered again, a reminder that the world outside pressed against their sanctuary. What was being revealed? What wondrous truth might emerge from this divine prompting? And with their hearts attuned to the Spirit's urging, Thomas was left wondering if the voice outside was a signpost toward the next key. How would it change them? Would they be brave enough to unlock the ultimate revelation? The wind raged outside, and the world beyond the chapel felt like a distant memory as Thomas stood before the door, sensing every heartbeat ripple within him. He inhaled deeply, the air heavy with anticipation and a touch of fear. What if opening that door would lead them into something monumental? "Helen," he said softly, "can you feel it? There is something divine about this moment." She nodded, her expression both solemn and resolute. "Yes, Thomas. It feels like we're standing on the edge of revelation." The knock came again, firm and steady. It reverberated through their hearts, awakening a sense of urgency. "Let us not just listen to the voice," Elizabeth said, her vibrant spirit shining through the tension. "Let us respond. Whatever is on the other side, we must greet it with faith." "Faith," Thomas whispered, tasting the word. It hit him like a bolt of lightning. Faith was the heartbeat of courage. With careful resolution, he reached for the door. The moment he grasped the handle, a warmth enveloped him, as if the angels themselves were standing close. The knocking stopped. All eyes locked on him, a collective bated breath weaving the atmosphere thicker yet somehow lighter. He turned the handle and opened the door with conviction that a rush of wind swept in, carrying with it the scent of fresh rain and a flickering light that danced just beyond their sight. It was not merely a gust but a presence that filled the chapel with a palpable energy. The wind whispered secrets and wisdom as it spiraled around them, wrapping them in a divine embrace. "Listen!" someone gasped, as they all leaned closer, attuning to the voice that blended with the wind. "You have the power to transform your fears into strength. Discover the truth that lies dormant within your hearts. These keys are gifts, hold them tightly." The congregation felt the flutter of fluttering hearts, and suddenly, the chapel was flooded with light, a golden glow, so warm and inviting, it made them blink against its brilliance. Thomas could hardly believe his eyes. What did the voice mean by gifts? He locked eyes with Helen, who looked as if she could read his thoughts. Together, they shared a spark of understanding. Could courage be one of those gifts? She suggested, a glimmer of hope igniting in her eyes. "Perhaps," Thomas replied, still enveloped in wonder. "But what are these other keys?" As if on cue, the brightness intensified, illuminating the walls with hues of orange and purple, like a sunset painted by divine hands. In those radiant colors, they began to see shapes, silhouettes of figures moving, representing faith, resilience, love. Each one a key to unlock their hearts. "We must unlock all of them," he exclaimed, feeling a surge of inspiration lift him. "Each key representing the virtues we need to bear. Love, faith, gratitude. Each step leads us closer to our calling." The congregation erupted in agreement, emotions crashing over them like waves. Encouragement surged. "Together!" they cried, rallying together under the warmth of the unfolding revelation. The voice floated through the atmosphere again, softer yet clearer. "Who will embrace vulnerability and grant yourself the freedom to flourish? Who will embrace the unknown and find the miracles that await?" What a powerful question! Clara said, her voice trembling with excitement. "We must answer the call. Not just this moment, but every moment of the journey ahead." As the light pulsed, illuminating their spirits, they felt a sacred yearning resonating among them. Thomas understood now, courage was only the first key. They needed to embrace every part of this divine unfolding. But with each answer came an opportunity for deeper commitment. What awaited them as they embarked upon this journey? What trials would they face when the answers began to take shape? With hearts reverberating with questions and faith ignited, they stepped forward, ready to discover what would come next. Would they have the strength to find all 7 keys? Would they brave the darkness that awaited beyond the door? The next chapter beckoned, shimmering with the promise of answers and an unexpected challenge that could change everything. As Thomas and the congregation stepped into the golden light, they suddenly found themselves enveloped by a new energy. The air crackled with electricity, a tingling sensation washing over them, as if the very essence of the chapel had shifted into a realm beyond their understanding. Each face was alight with wonder, eyes wide like children witnessing a great miracle. Elizabeth clutched her heart, feeling the presence of something sacred swirl around her. "This is only the beginning," she whispered, her voice laced with awe. A figure began to emerge from the light, growing clearer with every heartbeat. It was a radiant being, ethereal yet grounded, with eyes that sparkled like stars. "Do not be afraid," the being spoke, and its voice resonated deep within their souls, vibrating with power and love. "Who are you?" Thomas asked, his voice barely more than a breath, yet filled with reverence. "I am a guardian," the being replied, its form shimmering with every word. "A watcher of those who seek the truth. You stand at the threshold of transformation, yet many challenges lie ahead." As the guardian spoke, the shadows in the corners of the chapel flickered, threatening to creep in. An uncomfortable chill spread through the air. "But beware," it continued, "for there are forces unseen, Archons, who aim to distract you, to distort your journey. They will test your resolve and faith." The congregation shifted, unease settling like a dense fog. Thomas could sense the worry threading through their hearts. "What can we do?" he asked, almost pleading. "Embrace the keys," the guardian instructed, raising a hand to reveal 7 ornate keys, sparkling with a light of their own. Each key represents a virtue essential to your growth and protection. Courage, love, faith, gratitude, compassion, wisdom, and unity. Together, they will guard you against the darkness. Helen spoke up, her voice steady. "How do we begin to unlock these keys? How do we ensure we conquer the Archons' challenges?" The guardian smiled softly, warmth radiating toward them. "Through honest reflection and action. You must each take the time to dive into your inner selves, confronting the fears that may hold you hostage. Only then can you transform them into strength. Reflect and act," Thomas repeated, the words echoing in his mind. They felt like a path to follow, a guiding star in an impassable night. As the guardian's presence filled the chapel, the air became thick with hope yet tempered with caution. "You have the strength within to unlock each key. Remember, doubts may arise, but do not let them deter you. Every moment is an opportunity." A surge of energy coursed through Thomas, igniting a sense of determination. If they were to confront the unseen forces of darkness, they must bond together and draw strength from one another. As the guardian began to fade into the light, a sense of urgency hung in the air. "Begin your journey soon, for time is not your ally. Embrace the challenge and discover the miraculous truths that will empower you." "Thank you," Clara exclaimed, her eyes shining with determination. "We won't let fear decide our fate." With that, the guardian vanished, leaving an unforgettable glow in its place. The group stood in silence, feelings of exhilaration mixed with apprehension. "Now we know what is at stake," Thomas declared, a fire igniting within him. "Let us commit to each other, to nurture our spirits, and to unlock these keys together." But just as the light dimmed, a sudden gust of wind swept through the chapel, slamming a door shut with a resounding thud, echoing ominously. It was a stark reminder that their challenge was only beginning. What lies beyond that door? Helen wondered aloud, a hint of fear creeping back into her eyes. "Maybe our next key is hidden within," Thomas suggested, feeling a mix of trepidation and excitement. The path ahead shimmered with promise, but the looming unknown stirred their hearts. One thing was certain: their resolve would be tested, and the journey toward unlocking the keys had truly begun. What awaited them on the other side? Could they uncover the first key and face the shadows that threatened to engulf them? Time would tell. Thomas took a deep breath, the air thick with an unspoken tension. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on them like a physical force. The door loomed ahead, dark and mysterious, beckoning them into the unknown. What lay beyond was a culmination of their doubts and fears, but also an opportunity for growth unlike any they had experienced before. Clara stepped forward, her hand brushing against the surface of the door. "Perhaps we should open it together," she suggested, glancing back at each member of the congregation. There was a nod of agreement, a collective understanding that the strength of their bond was more powerful than the shadows that lurked beyond. As they clasped hands tightly, a surge of warmth enveloped them, dispelling the cold that had settled in the corners of their minds. "Remember the keys," Helen murmured, her voice both steady and reassuring. "We carry the light within us." With a gentle push, Thomas leaned into the door, and it creaked open slowly, revealing an expanse of darkness that swallowed the chapel's golden glow. The congregation peered into the void, hearts pounding like a drumbeat, a symphony of courage and fear. What greeted them was not simply emptiness but a swirling mist that danced and shifted, tendrils reaching out as if alive. And then, amidst the dark, flickers of light began to appear, tiny, glimmering orbs that pulsed with ethereal energy. The very air hummed with a vibration that made their skin tingle. It felt like the essence of joy mingled with apprehension. "Do not let fear overwhelm you," Thomas called out, his voice brave yet uncertain. "These are signs of our journey. Each light may hold a key, waiting to be recognized." As if answering his call, one orb drifted closer, illuminating the space with a golden hue. It danced in front of Thomas, urging him to reach out. This could be our first key," he said, determination shining in his eyes. That he extended his hand slowly, fingers trembling as they reached toward the warm glow. The moment his fingertips brushed against the orb, a rush of emotions cascaded over him, fleeting memories, struggles, triumphs, and ultimately, divine love. It was everything he had ever wanted, but with that warmth came a chill, a dark whisper creeping into his heart. "You are unworthy, you can't do this, you've failed before." The doubts took form, swirling like shadows at the edges of his mind, threatening to push him back. "No!" shouted Clara, as if sensing his internal battle. She moved closer, the strength of her presence wrapping around him like a shield. "Those are lies. We are here together, and we have been given these keys to overcome." A sense of unity sparked through the congregation. One by one, they reached out, their hands brushing against the light, each pulsating orb revealing fragments of their own truth and strength. Flooded with an inexplicable peace, they began to drown out the whispers of fear. With every touch, the orbs illuminated further, painting the darkness with resilience and joy. The laughter of children, the memories of shared moments, the steadfast hope of their faith echoed through the chamber like a chorus, reminding them of the reasons they had come together in the first place. "Courage is our first key," Thomas declared, his voice now laced with unwavering conviction. "We face these shadows together, united in love and faith." Just then, they heard a loud rumble as the door behind them closed with a finality that vibrated through their bones. The once familiar chapel had vanished, leaving them solely within the embrace of light and shadows. "We must find the others," Helen encouraged. "The journey is just beginning." As they stood in that surreal blend of light and darkness, they could sense that more keys awaited them. But the next challenges whispered through the mist, stirring unease as their quest unfolded. Would they have the courage to confront the Archons and unravel the deeper truths hidden within themselves? Time would reveal the strength they had yet to discover, and the next key was closer than they could imagine. The light and shadows danced around Thomas and the villagers, swirling like an eternal battle between hope and despair. Each heartbeat resonated within the expanse, enveloping them in anticipation as if the universe itself held its breath. Thomas felt the unfurling potential of the moment, the incredible challenge that lay before them, and he pulled the congregation close together, the warmth of their shared spirits igniting a flame of unity. "Together. We face this together," he urged, determination pouring forth like sacred oil. "What lay ahead tests our courage. The first key is already within us. But what more must we discover?" As they pressed onward, the air thickened with a divine energy, and suddenly, whispers emerged from the swirling light. This time they were not laced with fear but with invitations, calls to embrace the very essence of each key they sought. Each villager felt the echoes resonate within. They might be more intertwined than ever with the unfolding mystery. Then Clara stepped forward, heart resolute yet tender. What if the next key is gratitude? Her voice trembled but rang clear, bright as sunbeams breaking through clouds. Gratitude for each other. Gratitude for love, joy, and even this challenge before us. Gratitude. The word echoed, shaking off the heaviness that seeped into their hearts. In waves, voices rose, and with every echo, radiant light flickered, illuminating the void around them. Thomas felt the movement, energy shifting and folding, as the congregation reflected on their lives' blessings. There it was, a surrounding warmth of community, the stories shared in laughter, the helping hands extended during hard times. Let us be thankful for every moment. He shouted, his arms raised, drawing forth their connection. Let us turn sorrow into strength. As if the world conspired with their convictions, ethereal orbs emerged one by one from the mist, each infused with memories of gratitude. The sight made hearts swell, faces lit in warmth and recall. This was the power of gratitude, a life breath that fueled their spirits. Helen stepped closer, eyes shimmering. When we remember all we've been gifted, even the trials, we can break the chains of doubt. Gratitude fosters hope. The atmosphere flourished, a vortex of compassion springing forth, washing over them like a summer rain. The gentle embrace of love enveloped the congregation, illuminating the chapel with golden hues that fought dark shadows, casting ominous forms into retreat. I see the next key. Clara exclaimed, beaming as the light coalesced into clarity. It is compassion. Compassion for one another and even for ourselves. Compassion. Their voices ignited in unison, filled with fervor, each syllable bursting forth like petals of blooming flowers. They remembered each other's burdens, the pain Helen carried, the struggles of all in Highbury, the fears that hunted them like shadows at dusk. Compassion connects us. Thomas highlighted. It binds our pains and transforms them into collective strength. The light shimmered, a sacred tapestry of understanding gathering amidst them. Thomas felt a surge of energy ripple through as compassion wove them together, standing resolute against the Archons' darkness. But just then, the shadows twisted, creating dark figures taunting from the edges, whispering of isolation and doubt. You cannot overcome them, you are divided, you are not strong enough. Silence, you shadows. Thomas cried defiantly, gripping the keys within his heart. We are more than our fears. We rise together. In that climactic moment, a mixture of light and shadow converged. The walls shimmered with their desires, compassion, courage, and gratitude pooled into a radiant beam that broke through the encroaching darkness. Fear is a lie. Helen shouted. Together, we illuminate the path to victory. The light pulsed brighter as they declared their truths, hands gripping tightly, refusing to yield under the weight of sorrow or despair. They felt the walls reverberate with every conviction, and an aura of resilience emerged stronger than the Archons could ever anticipate. That as a united clan, they moved deeper into the unfolding light, a collective heartbeat bolstering their spirits. What lies ahead will not extinguish us. We shall discover the fullness of our keys. Thomas rallied, his heart ignited with faith, joy thrumming through him as they embraced every previous discovery. Stepping boldly into the heart of the light, they encountered the next key, wisdom shimmering like a guiding star above. It filled them with profound clarity, reminding each one that the steps they had taken combined into a greater tapestry of existence. In sharing wisdom, they breathed new life into their trials, replacing hopelessness with insight, a sharp understanding of their intertwined journeys. Let us seek each key with open hearts, he urged, each sound carrying divine significance as they moved to the next, solidifying their bonds against darkness. We will face anything that comes our way with the strength of unity. As the final shadows clawed at their resolve, the congregation surged forward, battling the very doubts that tried to root them. We will not back down. Thomas proclaimed, spirit alight. Each key brings us closer to our purpose. And in the heart of the light, their journey towards unlocking the seventh key awaited. Each step resonated with faith, love, joy, and a powerful reminder the Archons might seek to bind them in darkness, but they were an unstoppable force united in the heavenly glow of divine truth, and with each declaration, they carved a path forward, fearless and filled with purpose. Now, as the lights brightened and the winds shifted, the sacred truth beckoned at the horizon, ready to unveil the final piece to their miraculous escape. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories that will uplift your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your thumbs up truly makes a difference in getting these stories to those who need them most. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this divine ending. We want to hear how it's touched your heart. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and strength. You need to show your support. True servants of God understand how important this is.